Ryan's here tonight. What is it like for the both of you to be promoting major motion pictures at the same time?
It's just so thrilling in our house right now. We help each other. We work together so much. The iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you know. But he wrote it. He works on everything I do. I work on everything he does. So his wins, his celebrations are mine, and mine are his. I mean, he's all over this film.
So this is most definitely probably my last installment of the It Ends With Us drama. Well aware that I have been discussing Blake Lively a lot recently in terms of what the It Ends With Us drama has been doing. Like, I'm well aware of that.
Best part in making this particular movie?
I've noticed so many beautiful crystals on teeth. Is that a big fashion thing? You should make braces out of these. That would be so. Everyone would look forward to having braces.
That would be smart.
Okay, that's not what you want to talk about.
Okay. No, we wanted to hear what has been the best part about making this particular film for you guys.
All of it. I mean,
about teeth gems.
Yes,
that was really the highlight.
There's a little bit to do with Blake Lively in this video, but a lot actually to do with her husband, Ryan Reynolds. All is to say that Ryan Reynolds could actually be in quite a lot of trouble, because if you remember in the past couple of videos that I did, it came out that he had actually rewritten the rooftop scene. Not only did he write it, it's now become 100% apparent that nobody knew. No cast member knew. The director, Justin Baldoni, didn't know. No one actually knew until the film had come out that he had rewritten or whatever was going on to do with this rooftop scene. That was all Ryan Reynolds, and according to Blake, his fingers are all up in this movie.
I mean, he's all over this film.
And Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman is not all over this film, but he's all over this premiere, and I'm grateful for it.
Congratulations.
Actually, what would happen is that things like that would be run past the director, and according to multiple news sources, like Blake Lively did contribute a lot of money towards this film, so it sort of became this like power imbalance, which we're going to get onto in just a minute, because crew members have been now speaking out about what it was actually like on set between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. They didn't say which ones, but cast members are now coming out and talking about it. But nobody knew that Ryan Reynolds had basically come along and like cut parts of whatever, like the final edit. So not only do we have a problem there in the fact that the director didn't know until the film was actually out, had no idea that this was going to be included, that Ryan Reynolds was kind of sneaking behind the scenes. Not only that, but because they were on Hollywood writer strikes at that point, yeah, he could get in quite a lot of trouble for that, because he was doing it when there was a great big writer's strike, and apparently it would have gone against the union guidelines. We're going to read about it in just a minute, because truth be told, I don't know a lot about it, but it throws out some pretty big words.
Imagine being the director of a film and finding out at the same time of the general public during an interview on the red carpet, your co-star's husband's scene is actually the one that made the final cut. Not your scene that you worked hard on, expecting to be praised because you worked so hard on this movie, but instead your co-star's very famous, rich husband.
And it would make a lot of sense as to why Blake Lively was trying to like push Justin Baldoni away, was trying to like get him to, push him down, and then kind of subsequently make up all of this stuff about him fat shaming her. He didn't respect her when they were doing the intimate scenes, even though they had an intimacy coordinator that Blake Lively said was really, really good. So it kind of makes more sense when you then find out that like actually Ryan Reynolds was a lot more involved in it. This is going from such an unprofessional opinion, but I do think that if you're doing a film, you've got people like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, why don't they both just direct and produce their own film? People wouldn't be like side-eyeing the whole thing. But the point is that it wasn't Ryan Reynolds' film. He wasn't the director, but he managed to get a role in altering parts of this film, even though no one else knew about it. That, I think, is shady. If you want to work together, do it on a project where you are, like, actually the people in charge. Do you know what I mean? Because even though Blake Lively was a big part of this film, that's fine, but her kind of tagging along her husband into it just gives me, it just like, you don't have to do everything together, especially when you're talking about something that has done so well at the box office. And she didn't tell anyone that, the final edit and the rooftop scene had been changed. Not even the director knew about it. So if I was Justin Baldoni, I would be pretty annoyed. Blake Lively's then coming along and they're making up all this stuff about fat shaming. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised that he is having to sort out like a PR crisis team. That does not surprise me. Even though this interview, this is when she was in the Britney Spears Versace dress, this is like old news. It's now been revealed that Justin Baldoni had no idea about it. So on Twitter it said, Entertainment Tonight can confirm that Ryan Reynolds writing a scene for It Ends With Us that made it into the final cut of the film did indeed come as news to Justin Baldoni, who found out only after Blake Lively revealed it in a red carpet interview. It Ends With Us actor and director Justin Baldoni was unaware that his star, Blake Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, was altering the script, E.T. confirmed on August 27th. That's relevant because if Reynolds made these changes while the movie was filming during the WGA strike, which would have been the Hollywood writers' strikes, that would have been against union guidelines. The WGA strike began on May 2nd, 2023 and ended on September 27th, and the movie began filming 3 days after the strike began on May 5th, per Variety. Reynolds' participation came to light in one of Lively's red carpet interviews. I like throwing around the words like the writers' union and all of this kind of stuff. It sounds like there could actually be trouble there. Now, will there be trouble there? Like, I think me and you, I'm talking to whoever's watching this right now, me and you probably understand that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are like a powerhouse. Realistically, would anything happen? Would the union really do anything about it? Probably not. Probably not. However, that then sets a really bad precedent for just the standard. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel that if it was someone who was a much lower level writer, much lower down in the food chain, then there would have been repercussions because they want to set a standard and set a precedent for other people. But because it's Ryan Reynolds, I just don't think anything's ever going to be done about it, and that is kind of infuriating. As the iconic rooftop scene in this movie, My Husband actually wrote it, which we already know, filmed during and after the strikes, beginning production 3 days after the WGA strike began, so if that scene was changed in that time, it would be scabbing. Christy Hall, who wrote the screenplay, discussed the altered scene. There was a few little flourishes that I did not write, but I assume that they had been improvised on set. Yeah, so this is the whole thing, right? Christy Hall, who was a screenwriter, I don't know if she was the screenwriter, but she was one of the screenwriters, she had no idea she was among the other people who had no idea that Ryan Reynolds had done this. So it wasn't just Justin Baldoni that was left in the dark about it. It wasn't just the director. It was also everyone else, including the screenwriter.
Any scene in particular that was challenging to work through?
You know, as a writer, probably the most difficult scene for me to crack was the rooftop scene. To say Colleen wrote it perfectly, and I wish I could have just lifted it from the pages and just put it in the film, but it's a little too long for film language. So my first crack at it, it was like a 10-page scene, which is a little impossible. The question became, what do we keep? What do we shave off? So on the page, it took a long time to get right, and then I have to say, like, Justin and Blake just killed it.
I can't work out if they did it because they wanted to surprise, or they did it because they knew that if they had asked the crew and writers about it, they'd be a little bit like, that's kind of our job, that's what we're supposed to be doing, or a little bit too sneaky, do you know what I mean? And apparently Blake Lively was what's her name, Girlpool. Actually watched the Deadpool Wolverine film where she was the girl in the front with the blonde hair. Apparently that's her. So now we have crew members who have done interviews and they have said what it was like working with the two, and allegedly Justin Baldoni more like hands off and a bit more inexperienced, kind of working with a big production, whereas Blake Lively was too domineering. These are their words. It says everyone knew that they didn't like each other, says one crew member who nevertheless believes the feverish gossip around the conflict is overblown. I think some of the rumours online seem a little strong. I don't think they hate each other, but I don't think they would work together again. Their styles are way too different. Blake is very business-minded and very practical. Justin is so on the other side of why he makes art that they were never going to be friends. Crew members who spoke with Rolling Stone, all of whom were hired and paid by Wayfarer, say that Baldoni and Lively seemed to avoid each other on set, with one source noting they never saw them together unless it was absolutely necessary. Still, all three crew members say that while the acrimony may seem intense from the outside, it all boils down to a mismatch of creative approaches and personalities. I do believe them when they say that, to narrow it all down, it was just to do with a lack of wanting the same things, you know, like creative differences. You can't deny that like everything that's come out after with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, you know, the fact that Ryan Reynolds literally did this whole bit. Does that happen quite often? And also during the writers' strikes. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just find the whole thing absolutely ridiculous. So allegedly, Blake Lively seemed really uninterested in this film. Apparently she was too domineering and Justin was inexperienced with running a big crew, and after she stopped caring, she didn't care about anything about the shoot. Normally that wouldn't be that big of a deal. A lot of the actors are like that, but she was so invested in the beginning, and then the more she and Justin interacted, the less she cared about it. We then have Blake Lively's was it brother-in-law or step-brother? I think it's brother-in-law. I think so. I'll put it up right here. I'm absolutely useless at remembering. But he was Zac Efron's dad in High School Musical. I have watched High School Musical so much recently because both of my kids have massively got into it. Yeah, you see it and you recognize it. But yeah, basically he said something and then the sister or said something. So I'll leave them up here. But I think that pretty much like wraps up what has been going down. I don't think there'll be any more drama necessarily coming out about it. I know that Blake Lively was seen partying with Taylor Swift. They had like a big party at Taylor Swift's mansion, something about that, and a lot of people were just kind of side-eyeing Taylor Swift. But Blake and Taylor have been friends for a very long time. I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I do call her the capitalist queen. I don't really like the music and I'm not really that big a fan of her capitalist ways. So that's basically it. But I knew that her and Blake were friends. I knew that they were friends, and some of the Swifties were going absolutely mad about it, and it's like, well, they've always been friends. They're both kind of probably very similar. You know, you keep your company is what you keep, whatever. I don't know. So they've been doing that and people have had a lot to say about that. I have actually really enjoyed covering this whole sequence of events because it just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. But yes, things do get blown out of proportion because tabloids say certain things and it makes it so much bigger. Can't deny that what we know about what has happened, in the past couple of weeks, hasn't reflected very well on Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds. Like, you can't deny that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't make drama out of nothing. But like with anything that goes on in Hollywood, if it hits the tabloids and it has a great big title, then obviously yes, it's going to stir up a lot more drama. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say on this topic, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.